All right, Yohannes with Amanuel, Rastafari Renaissance.com. Lidj, Yefdeyah here, and just coming to you in another video on this point and really taking stock of most of the growth and, of course, the fellowship, especially there on Discipleship Radio on blogtalkradio.com on our internet radio space, and, of course, for ones looking to link up with us and really get into a little more of the details of the things that we usually speak about and we usually congregate over and really just discuss in a bit of a deeper fashion. You can reach out to us at rastafarigroundation.com. And of course, send me a link, contact on the contact page, and be sure, to get connected with us there. So I really came to many of you in this vid here, just really putting into perspective a lot more of the on the surface work, I should say, at this point, putting together and seeing, mostly not only the vision, but the direction in which, this type of community which really looks to bring to fruition. So many things start off in, a very a concept map or conceptualization point in which, a lot of ideas are usually formulated, but, we have such a vast and extraordinary foundation that has been laid, and one's really I really need to get more into specific details in moving forward with what, they may see as something new which they're seeking to present, or something, seemingly out of place to some, I would say, in many facets. But just looking here, so hopefully this is coming across the screen for ones to really get a better look. I always make a reference to a interesting point which kind of envision that really came to myself, especially formulating a lot of the posts there on the blog for RastafariRenaissance.com, and seeking a lot of historical reference, a lot of even present day adherences, especially among Rastafari peoples, Hebraic peoples, Israelite peoples, Hebrew-minded like peoples, Judaic peoples, Jews, and all of the sort, and really just looking toward mostly the solidification of what we're seeking to push forward in many instances that really help us to, not only formulate and complete the vision, but really seek many pinpoints in which we can see that are, really just coming to life before our eyes. I even caught certain songs and musical renditions even coming from the brother Shine Poe, as he would be known, especially from the hip-hop world, hip-hop artist, also son of a diplomat, and even has a very deep Ethiopian roots, especially with the Falasha, or the Beta Israel Jews of Ethiopia. I think it actually stems from his grandmother, from his matrilineal side. And the brother, of course, speaks in such a way, not only just speaking to his Caribbean background, but, also his Hebraic and African background as well. And really, we found ourselves, me specifically, especially, reaching to that point of coming to the knowledge of much of what has been brought forward to us at this point as well. So even just listening to a lot of the musical releases that the brother has brought forward, I really, take a notice of not only the growth, but just the things that have been, present within his life, even from such a time. But living in the world that we live today, we definitely see that many adjustments have been made, and whether they be a right or wrong, quote unquote, or sufficient for us at a certain point in time, or just a level or a stage in our growth, which we as individuals see, we usually have to take notice of that. And even with the brother Shine Poe doesn't make many affinities, even with a Caribbean background. They're from Belize. Seems to not shy away, but really doesn't claim too much of what, of course, we and others of my school of thought, my process of seeing things as a Rastafari would adhere to. But just seeing the brother's background and seeing the level of growth that he continues to aspire to, it's almost as if it really almost should be in place, for a brother like this to really come to the thought of. But no, we make no judgments here on this man. We make no judgments on this brother, because it really is such a enormous amount of responsibility, an enormous amount of study, an enormous amount of time that has to be put in before one can even think about making a decision as such to follow in a way, or live in such a manner such as a Rastafari. Just to put that out there. So, but we definitely lend our continuous support to a brother like this and many others who might be in this facet as well, because much of what Rastafari presents and much of what Rastafari is certainly to the point in which this brother, of course, actually is at. Seeking things, quote unquote, Jewish or Hebraic, seeking things more so toward the ancient African side. So we don't, we don't force these things on anyone just to let many ones know, and just seeing the mode in which he continues and the path in which he continues to walk and just really trot out. We really know it's only a matter of time. So just even putting this together, I always made a thought process of just looking at things from a certain stage in which I come to for seeing the congruencies between much of the ancient cultures and the cultures in which have progressed throughout, certain millennia, especially looking toward modern Judaism as we know it today, and which it stemmed from, especially amongst the time of the Moors there in southern Europe, also with the Jews, which ones would know it from that time as well. A very critical a moment in history, and we'll definitely expound a lot more on that, just to give a more context and a contextual, really a reference, a sort of point of view for ones to really, research for themselves and really find, whatever they may be able to find more in depth on that. But just putting that forward, I always sought to show the congruencies, the egalitarian like manner in which most ancient cultures would present themselves in so many other ways, in the things that we definitely do toward this day, especially people of African descent, people who even more so adhere to Hebraic lifestyles, or ways of living, culture, or remedies, or what have you. But I always sought to coin that in the mirrors of a Hamo-Shemitic culture. It's definitely a series, and still being formulated in myself, still really in the conceptualizing stage, in which I have sought to really present much of the way in which many ones would put in the saying, the more things change, the more they seem to really stay the same. So just looking through, these photos, and it's still, will continue to be added to, incrementally. So just, of course, bear with that and just really, just stay here in this moment and really just take in a lot of what I'm trying to present here, because it's real still a vision. It's still a heavy vision that I'm working out, even so myself. And really studying things like history and studying things like culture and studying things like language, it really tends to, jump out at me from time to time, and I really have to go into a mode where I even break study from other things just to follow this narrative, follow this, this stream of so many things that continue to present themselves in forms that I hadn't really noticed before, and I'm sure that other ones hadn't really come across either. So really trying to explain these things has really been the crux and the axiom of what I really have sought to present, especially here on the channel and on the blog, as well as with the rest of the community with Discipleship Radio as well. So even looking here, we definitely see how Rastafari itself really stems from, not only so many cultures, but, specifically a line of a culture really stemming so much toward the East. So I'm just looking at these things and presenting them in the manner that I present them. Hopefully, others will gain a certain level of understanding so that they can, really expound upon it, if so be it. And of course, look to these things and actually present other modes in which I may not have seen before myself. So even so, looking to Rastafari, we see so many congruencies, with the Ethiopic heritage. And this is, again, coming from, mostly Caribbean peoples, Afro-American peoples, and Afro-Latino peoples that, had no extensive knowledge, or at least that which we can immediately point to, especially among the Caribbean peoples who really, started up the fire amongst Rastafari there, especially in Jamaica, other places like Trinidad and Tobago and Martinique, and of course Montserrat, Cuba even, to the point where it's stemmed out so far and wide, and especially here in the North American shores. So I'm just looking at how much of the congruent spells of how much is continuing to come to us. We really just seem to be looking in a mirror, so to speak, and even so, this mirror reflecting itself even from the East, and we see so much, and even in Scripture we see that so much comes to us at a point where, the children of Israel really were set to appoint judges, officers, and acknowledge their elders. It was very, very interesting in that point, and of course with these photos, these renditions, which I've of course sought to compose and really present in the like manner, so that ones could really get the gist of what type of vision I've been really having from such a time. I would say at least over the few short span of years, it's really just been coming to myself in such a way that it's just been undeniable, where even amongst the language, and this has really prompted me to really delve into so much of the Afro-Semitic languages, and even so to the African languages of the entire continent, or at least the ones that I could grasp from such a time, and really put in the diligent work to study them thoroughly. We even start so much with the Amharic and the Hebrew as well. And even so, we've noticed so much in studying much of the Masoretic texts, and just seeing that mostly these high affiliated, high lettered, and these exquisite students, of higher education, from which we know today here in the West especially, have utilized most of these Afro-Shemitic languages, and even so, these African languages, you know, more so specifically to even explain a lot of the things which they seem to hold dear, especially amongst the Jewish people, and even so many of the other European languages as well, seeing how they find so many congruencies and, just equal standing points in which they could validate so much of the things that they present from their mode of thought and their schools of training and education in that mode. And just putting that forward, I really have begun the process of presenting much of the biblical Hebrew and studying it for myself and really bringing it to a point in which I'm really seeking to validate all of my claims and validate most of the studies that I have found to be true. And we'll definitely have that to present, to whoever may inquire about that, when the time comes, and it will be very shortly. So just looking toward that, and again, just sticking to the topic here about the theme of the mirrors of a Hamo-Shemitic culture. We definitely look toward the Black Jews of Harlem as well, with Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthew, as well as Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, and seeing much of what they had presented from such a time of the 19 teens to the 1930s and 40s, even more so to the 1960s and 70s, and really seeing where they had this great vision and really moved on it and sought not only such validation, but had found it to be true amongst specific peoples, and those peoples being, of course, many of the Hebraic peoples of Africa, seeing that so many African Americans or those of African descent here in the West, from North to Central and South America, are really searching, and more so on the North American shores, to be specific and honest, really seeking to find those connections with the peoples of the East, or those peoples specifically of the East whom they have their lineage from. And of course, there's always been many questions that have come forward. There's been much scrutiny. There's been much study, and even so medical work as far as genealogy and DNA tests, RNA tests, just everything that could be done, pretty much has been done to this point. But it seems that even so, and it comes out more and more to us every day, that these peoples, especially of the West, that of course passed through the transatlantic slave trade, find themselves with more affinities, with more blood ties, with more familial relations with the peoples who ascribe to be quote-unquote Hebraic or Jewish, so on and so forth. So even looking to this, we even find so much of the equal points, or the similarities in which the Amharic relates so much to the Hebrew language, or what we know today. Even so, speaking of it in a dialectical way, and showing that much of the Shemitic languages have, such a similar root in which they really stem from. It really begs the question, what is the root of all Shemitic languages? So just putting this forward again, and we see that even amongst the priests usually would be named a Kahin here from the Ethiopian Amharic, and the Hebraic, it would be Kohen. So it's really a definite point of reference in the wording, a definite reference in much of the pronunciation of many words. Even so with the prophets, a prophet would be named a Nebiyat, in the plural form of the Ethiopian Amharic, and a Nebiim from the Hebraic. Just very interesting. Those points continue to come to us at such a point. And even so, a king would be named a Negusoch in the plural form. Now, it really would seem as though there wouldn't be a congruent or an equal dialectical sound or pronunciation in the Hebrew, as in many references they would be named from the Hebraic standpoint Amelech or Melachim in the plural form of the Hebraic. But there's also a Negash from the Hebraic as well. So even looking to that, I found so much to come out from that point. And the more we do research on things like these, we just seem to find that there are continuous streams of equal points of reference to bring out and solidify these claims that much of the Semitic languages find themselves having a root in inner Africa. So it continues to come out, and there is so much more study to be done, and so much more to present. But even here, we know that there is so much more to be had.